Baylor men's basketball coach, national championship head coach, and now three-time Big 12 Coach of the Year, Scott Drew, Sic'Em 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Wow, 3 in a row.
Well, that means you have a lot of great players. You have a great staff, administration, fan support. So we call them team awards because head coaches only get those when everything else is working.
Does it make it even better or more satisfying that it's voted on by your peers?
I can tell you, you respect the other coaches you compete against, and you respect how they do their job, and you understand the toughness of their job. So when preseason polls come out or postseason accolades come out, you do appreciate whenever you would get named or your players get named, because you know those coaches know what they're talking about. Now, I know sometimes politics come into play, and that's why the media polls sometimes are a little bit different too, and different opinions. But I can tell you that we have great coaches, and I know they do a great job in being thoughtful. And I mean, like John being co-defensive player of the year just speaks volumes to them and what they not only appreciate with John, but also understand just how an injury cut his season short, but out of respect for him, didn't take him out of the running for that ballot. So that really meant a lot too.
Scott, do you feel like, as far as Coach of the Year, and then, of course, we'll get to the Big 12 tournament, and also the fact that you are, yet again, the Big 12 champion in the regular season, could it be because you had this team with 4 players who left, 3 in the NBA, 1 in the NFL, or is it because you reinvented yourself, you think, down the stretch?
Well, I think one thing our coaches have done a great job always is rewarding winning, and sometimes players put up numbers, but the teams don't win, and you can tell it's more about them than the team. And I think the Big 12 coaches really appreciate winning and those players that put the team first. And so I think, first of all, us doing well is why our players and our staff got recognized. At the same time, I think during the year, everyone faces different challenges, and obviously we face more challenges this year than we had in previous years. I saw an analytical stat about percentages of players injured and out, and we were obviously number 1 in the Big 12 with during the year losing key guys for games. Is
there any similarities, even though different reasons, that you enter this tournament this year with what is focused? Last year you entered, you kind of needed I know Oklahoma State got you, and it ended up being the best thing, not losing, but it gave you a couple of days before you went into a different bubble. This time you have so many minutes compiled because of the numbers that you're going to. Is there any similarity to how you handle this tournament to last year? Not that you're trying to lose a game?
Right. Yeah. I think you understand the big picture, and the big picture is that this conference tournament isn't the end of your season, so you have to look beyond that. At the same time, you look at each and every opportunity, and you come up with a game plan to be successful. And with last year, again, we came up with whatever game plan we thought gave us the best chance to win the Big 12 tournament. We're going to do the exact same thing this year, but at the same time, I think as a head coach, you got to look at 20,000 feet, not just at the next game. And you got to know, after this tournament, we do have the NCAA tournament, and so you can't put yourself in harm's way for this tournament that would affect the other tournament, meaning like practice time leading up to this tournament. We got to keep getting better each and every day, but we can't tap ourselves out for the next 2 opportunities we have.
That it appears, based on all the bracketologies and all that, you're a number 1 seed. Do you feel like you've done enough to be a number 1 seed, not just now, but do you feel like no matter what happens in Kansas City, you're a number 1 seed even afterwards?
Well, we win that tournament, then I don't think there's any argument. If we don't win it, I can definitely present a case that I think a lot of people would listen to, especially from the standpoint, the criteria that net rating looks at and what the NCAA committee always stresses to the colleges schedule a great non-conference control, which you can control. And we've done that. We've won games in that. So I think either way we can argue that, but we're going to Kansas City with the hopes to win in that tournament. There's definitely challenges. There's only been one team in Texas to win the Big 12 tournament, and especially in Kansas City. Iowa State, Kansas State have a huge home court advantage. Those games will all be sold out with their fans, and we know how our fans affect our games here. So you have challenges, and that's the beauty of the NCAA tournament. It's more neutral crowds or top seeds get home court advantage, so you earn that. But it's the Big 12 tournament prepares you for the NCAA tournament, just how it's all conducted and how it's run, and that'll be really important for our guys to take advantage of and gain experience, because we have a lot of them that this will be the first time in that type of environment and format. The first time you get the police escort to the game, the first time you do all the post-game media and whatnot. And I think that really helps all the Big 12 teams come NCAA tournament time.
When you look at where you were when you were 15-0 before the injuries started to mount up, and now where you are with how you're playing now, which was a better team?
Well, obviously you're always going to take more over less.
Yes.
I think our margin of error is less now. Injuries, foul trouble, illness, anything, a bad night. And when you have more depth, that's more weapons, however you want to say it. When you go to the bench and someone comes in and they go, when LJ comes in and he's your leading scorer, that's a great option off the bench.
Sure.
When John comes in and he's the co-defensive player of the year, that's a great option off the bench. Jeremy won Sixth Man of the Year. That's a great So now you just don't have some of those options, or you haven't had some of them, and it puts that much more pressure on everyone else to not have one of those 2 for 12 games, because when you do, it's not like you can sub someone in and shorten that 2 for 12 to make it 2 for 5.
When did you come up with Jeremy Sohan playing the 5? What was that like in the middle of the night? Was that at a team meeting? Was that with your coaches? When did that happen?
Well, Jeremy's somebody that had played the center in high school, had some experience with that, and it's a situation too where a lot of people in the league have downsized. It started with Draymond Green, the Golden State Warriors. Mark Vital played the 5 for us. So sometimes it's matchups as well, but we knew that was definitely an option for us, and Jeremy's done a great job taking advantage of that, and Flo has done a great job staying out of foul trouble, and it takes a team to win. Every day in practice, Zach helps get those guys ready, and if Zach's number's called on, we know he'll do a good job as well.
Scott, this team with your youth, with Sohan and then Kendall and what they've done, there always is like probably a little bit of push, but it seems like, again, it's just been these are the players who you recruit. They have to be good. You mentioned this to me before. There has to be ego because they're being recruited by Baylor and others. But how do you know? How do you know when you're going to recruit somebody that they're going to fit the culture, and how deep do you have to go to find to make sure?
Great question. I can tell you it's anyone that ever invests in the stock market. You do your research, you do your due diligence, but at the end of the day, only God knows the future. And I think with the recruiting, it's the same thing. We put a lot of prayer into who God wants us to have, and we've really been blessed with. We put all the. At the end of the day, each program looks for different things, and our staff knows things that we value, and because we value them, other people might not value them as much. It doesn't make it always work out, but we've really been blessed where guys have come in, they fit our culture, but they've gotten better being here. And if you have players that are good fits, that you like spending time with, that are talented, but also keep improving, players do things for each other that they don't do for coaches and others. So, I mean, it's really important that them fitting the culture and getting along with one another. Iron sharpens iron, making each other better. Because we've all been in workplaces where you really don't sometimes like everybody, or I wish this person wasn't here. And then when they're gone, it's so much better and you're so much more cohesive. And that's why putting together a team is the exact same way. You could have a really talented player, but if it makes everybody else worse, it's not worth it.
You know, this conference, I mentioned you as Coach of the Year in the Big 12, the third consecutive year. This conference is loaded. You have a Hall of Fame coach, 2 of them, I think. And then you have what Mark Adams did at Tech, TJ, what he did at Iowa State. Yeah. There's a reason some are elsewhere. How much do you guys, as the players, push each other, the programs push each other, but how impressive is the group of coaches in this conference?
Well, I can tell you our staff, when we came in, we learned so much competing against the Rick Barnes, the Bob Knights, the Eddie Suttons, the Kelvin Sampsons, and everybody else in the league, and that makes you better at what you do. And each and every year, the Big 12 has brought in great coaches to run the program, so you learn and you adapt as we all do. I mean, in technology, if you don't learn the next iPhone here, you're right. So you're constantly upgrading and trying to adapt to what other people do. And again, you have what makes the Big 12 so tough is not only the environments and administration and the talented players, but so many coaches that have been to the Final Four, had postseason success, and you gotta constantly try to improve and get better, because if not, you get left behind.
Scott Drew again with us, Sic'Em 365 Radio. How about the Confetti Weekend, with what you were able to celebrate Saturday, the Nikki in her first year, the way that team came back from being in a little bit of a ditch, and then they get to celebrate.
Yeah, big weekend. And I tell you, you talk about Baylor University, Central Texas. I mean, Baylor to be the first program to win all 3 in the Big 12, the football championship, men's and women's basketball. I mean, that says a lot for the Baylor family, boosters, alumni, fans, but also President Livingstone, Mac Rhodes, our administration. What a great job they're doing. What a great job media and everyone, because it takes a team to win. Everything does matter, as our athletic director, Mac Rhodes, likes to say, and it's so true. Everybody plays a part in it. So excited that we kept the cleanup crews really busy this weekend in the Farrell Center. And I remember Perry Jones, when he came back his sophomore year, one of the big reasons he came back was he wanted confetti, and it was great. His dad was at the game the other day, and we won, and we made sure we brought a bag back of confetti for Perry, little Perry, so he could give it to him, because we did that with the last championship as well. But again, all the past players, they all contributed to this, and everybody loves celebrations. Everyone loves confetti, and takes everyone working together to make that happen.
You mentioned past players. I have to ask you about Tweedy and King and practicing a little bit against your guys and how they come back to sharpen the iron. How intense can that be, and how much joy do you take from them wanting to be so involved in helping even right now?
Well, you know, a lot of our players are still playing, so they don't have the opportunity to come back. But he's season finished up, and obviously King with ESPN, and King's got to continually work out, because he's got to stay looking sharp for TV, you know. So when those guys come back, and whenever they practice, though, it's always a blessing for our young guys to learn from them and compete against them. But again, they do it because they love our current players. They love the university, and that's part of what makes the program so special. Because like Davion was playing the Mavs. I mean, he didn't have to drive an hour and a half to come over, an hour and 45 minutes to see the guys, and yet he does that. And I know it makes our day. It's my parents were just here this weekend, and I know they say kids are great, but they love grandkids. And I think our past players coming back, it's kind of like grandkids, you know. We love whenever they come around, our past players, and it's such joy for our staff. But the fact of what they pour into our current athletes makes a huge difference, and they understand it's bigger than just when they're here now, but it's Baylor University and the future and the program.
Thank you very much, Scott. Congratulations on the championship, also the Coach of the Year. Scott Drew, Sic'Em 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, the people that you can count on here in Central Texas. They have